Hi, and welcome to the Digital Digging YouTube channel. In this video, we're taking a look at the Hawker Hurricane service in the Soviet Union, both in history and in the game of War Thunder. In 1941, with the advent of Operation Barbarossa, Hitler's forces looked bound for victory in Russia until nature intervened with an early cold spell that was so successful at stopping the Germans in their tracks that the weather event was nicknamed General Winter. To take advantage of this reversal of fortune and to cement an agreement between Britain and Russia, the two countries invaded and occupied Iran to secure an overland supply to Russia through which an estimated 5 million tons of military support would be sent. Due to the need to bolster the Iranian infrastructure, this took a while to set up, and in the meantime a marine supply route was in operation. This route, which was challenging enough without German interference, took the convoys through the Arctic Ocean, past Norway, and ended either at Murmansk, which was largely ice-free, or 400 miles further on to Archangel, which had better dock facilities but regularly became icebound in the deep winter months. The Arctic convoys, which made 40 runs in all, were responsible for delivering vast amounts of equipment to help the Russian war effort get back on its feet, and some of the most valuable cargo comprised of aircraft to replace their losses. The first convoy left in 1941 towards the end of August and carried, amongst other things, the newly formed 151 wing, which included No. 134 Squadron and No. 81 Squadron, both of which were comprised largely of Hurricane IIBs with a handful of 2As. The role of the British, Australian and New Zealand pilots and ground crew was to provide Murmansk with air support against enemy attack while training their Soviet counterparts how to handle the aircraft and keep support services running. This was done at Venga Airfield, a little over 15 miles away from the city port, and provided an almost custom-built environment to test the strength of the Hurricanes with a mixture of foul weather, not much in the way of daylight, being 170 miles north of the Arctic Circle, and a rolled sand landing strip. By the following month, their combat skills were tested too when 81st Squadron intercepted an HS-126 escorted by 5 Bf-109s. They were carrying only 6 7.62 machine guns apiece, the others having been removed to reduce weight in transit. However, they still managed to damage the Henschel 126 and shoot down 3 of the Bf-109s. Flight Sergeant Hoare, who took part in this and other battles around Murmansk, received the Order of Lenin for his efforts. The engagement is recorded in his own words. Whilst leading a patrol of Hurricanes over the enemy lines, I intercepted 5 Bf-109s escorting an HS-126. My height was 3,500 feet. The enemy aircraft were approaching from ahead and slightly to the left, and as I turned towards them, they turned slowly to the right. I attacked the leader as he turned, and I gave him a 10-second burst from the full beam position. The enemy aircraft rolled onto its back, and as it went down it burst into flames. I did not see it crashing owing to taking evasive action, but Red 2, Pilot Officer Walker, confirms that it crossed him in a 70-degree dive at 500 feet, smoke and flames still pouring from it. After completing a number of missions and leaving some signals personnel to carry on the work they started, the pilots and ground crew of 151 Wing returned to Britain via the North Atlantic convoy, reaching home, or the nearest thing they had to it at the time, by early December 1941, leaving their aircraft in the capable hands of the 72nd Regiment of the Red Naval Air Fleet. Over the next 3 years, Britain sent Russia nearly 3,000 Hurricanes of various marks, though not all of them completed the journey due to continuing German activity against the North Atlantic convoys. The majority of these were 2Bs, with 2Cs coming in second and the remainder comprising of 2As. The significance of this supply was underplayed by Stalin, as it didn't fit the strong independent narrative he was keen to promote. This was, however, at odds with the severity of complaints received by the British authorities if the supply was ever delayed for some reason. The Hurricane's reputation for dependability spread rapidly throughout the Soviet Union, and they performed very well in an escort role for Ilyushin bombers under Major Gorshkov, with the Soviet War News reporting that thanks to the Hurricane, they had lost only 1 bomber to enemy fighters over a period of 3 months. Soviet bomber crews were said to have had so much faith in their escorts that they were able to concentrate fully on their targets without having to look out for enemy aircraft. Major Panov's unit, comprising of 20 Hurricanes, claimed to have brought down 31 German bombers and 52 fighters in return for the loss of 4 pilots and 10 aircraft. While this estimate is probably on the high side, there is reason to believe that even with a lesser number of outright victories, the performance of Panov's unit was still impressive. The Soviet Hurricane we have in the game is, suitably enough, the Mark IIB. This is a Tier 2 premium aircraft with a battle rating of 3.0. It has a reward bonus of 70% plus 70% and a research point bonus of plus 148%. It has a maximum speed of 329 miles per hour or 529 kilometers per hour and a turn time of 17.5 seconds. It's armed with a pair of 20mm Schwark cannon with 250 rounds of ammunition and a reload time of 40 seconds, and two 12.7mm Berezin UB machine guns with 250 rounds of ammunition and a reload time of 20 seconds. If you like the Hurricanes, then this one is a must. Manoeuvrability is as good as you would expect, but the relatively high battle rating for a 2B is generated by the presence of the upgraded armament. This, however, is fair enough, as it renders this aircraft into something of a brute, more than capable of handling anything within the same BR range. In fact, the first time I took it out for a spin in arcade mode, I accounted for 8 of the opposite team before being forced into a soft landing. Keeping in mind that this is a premium, we should have a look at the price. This currently stands at 1,000 Golden Eagles, which is £4.25 in sterling, $5.99 in euros, or $6 American dollars and 65 cents. So over here in the UK, it's roughly the equivalent of just under 3 bottles of passable beer or 5 cans of awful energy drink. Given the potential levelling return this aircraft can provide, I'd say it was a bargain. However, anyone who knows my views on the Hurricane would probably expect me to say that if it was twice the price. Okay, that's it for another video, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, then give it a like, and if you didn't, you can either remain silent or give it a dislike. I mean, it's all anonymous. Well, that's what YouTube wants you to think. Secretly, they provide me with the age, social security number, and home address of anyone who even thinks about leaving a dislike. Other YouTubers will tell you this isn't the case at all, but then they would, wouldn't they? I mean, you don't have to take my word for it. I could easily be lying. In fact, I'm almost certainly lying, but that's a chance you're going to have to take. I wouldn't do anything bad even if I wasn't lying, which I may or may not be doing. At the very worst, I'd sell your details to a cold call company and spend the money on cake, Star Wars figures, and a splendid weekend dress. Or would I? Is anyone even listening to this bit? It's just me and you, is it? Good. I'm glad the others have gone. Want to watch some videos together? Have a look to your right and select whatever you want to see next while I make us both a cup of tea. I may even be able to rustle up a fig roll. Cheerio, and I'll see you for the next one.